Hi, Pastor Steve here. I want to thank you for listening today, and I want to encourage you because I know that God will truly bless you as you study His Word. So hey, let's get started.
Good morning, church family. Matt here to share a devotion from the Psalms. I've really enjoyed getting to spend time in the Psalms each week and listening to the sermons and the other devotions. I hope and pray that they've been a blessing and encouragement to you as well. So there's a movie, Despicable Me, and we follow a villain, Gru, who throughout the course of the movie has his heart softened and changed by some little girls that are put into his care. And upon the culmination of the movie, he's had this big turn or change. And then there's a sequel. And in the sequel, we see that develop even further to where he goes from not only leaving being a villain, but to becoming someone who actually opposes villains. And so his life is getting sorted out and he's on the right path. But we find that he continually finds trouble. In the pursuit of doing good, he messes up or fails and he's reprimanded. I don't know about you, but often I find myself in similar positions. Sometimes when I'm in the best attitude and pursuing good things and pursuing God, things don't go just smooth and easy the way I wish they would. Oftentimes I find myself with more turmoil or chaos or opposition. And that's because sometimes we can have an expectation that doing the right things means that everything is just going to work out right or perfect. Well, today in our psalm, we see David, a man described as someone after God's own heart, calling out to God about some personal pits that he's found himself in. And that even in the pursuit and obedience of God, the pits still come around. But he gives us a great lesson in who we can trust to remove us from those pits and set us on sturdy ground. If you have a Bible, open up to Psalm 40. And today's psalm is a little longer than normal, so I'm not going to read the whole thing for us. Instead, I'm going to read a couple segments, and we'll talk about those. But I want to challenge you and encourage you to spend some time in this psalm today and this week, specifically looking at how this psalm is broken into two distinct parts. The first, verses 1 through 10, are all about praising God and giving thanksgiving and gratitude for what he's done. The second part, verses 11 through 17, are a lament, crying out to God because he's found himself with enemies opposing him and with great opposition. And so he's making his petitions known to God, two distinct types of prayer to God. And I want us to think about how this psalm flows as you're reading it, as you're looking at the progression. So let's start here. I want to read the first 6 verses for us. I waited patiently for the Lord. He inclined to me and heard my cry. He drew me up from the pit of destruction, out of the miry bog, and set my feet upon a rock, making my steps secure. He put a new song in my mouth, a song of praise to our God. Many will see and fear and put their trust in the Lord. Blessed is the man who makes the Lord his trust, who does not turn to the proud, to those who go astray after a lie. You have multiplied, O Lord my God, your wondrous deeds and your thoughts toward us. None can compare with you. I will proclaim and tell of them, yet they are more than can be told. In sacrifice and offering you have not delighted, but you have given me an open ear. Burnt offering and sin offering you have not required of me. You see, David found himself in a pit. He was stuck. He was in a bad situation, and they don't tell us specifically what this pit is for David. And I like to believe that's so that we can all empathize, because we've all found ourselves in a pit at some point. And it says that he waited patiently for the Lord. This is not something that we are really good at doing. In a culture that says we need to have it in 1 minute or less, in a culture that says things need to be quick, fast, super easy, waiting patiently is a virtue that we don't possess very often. I know recently I went to order something on Amazon, and I was shocked and dismayed that it was going to take 5 whole days to get that item. I'm so used to having either same-day delivery or at the most 2-day delivery that waiting 5 days for something seemed outrageous to me. He waited patiently for the Lord. Waiting and trusting God is something that we need to grow in our ability to do. Spending time seeking him. And it says that God inclined his ear and heard him cry. That God was listening and heard him. And he drew him up out of this pit. That he took him from this place that he was stuck and set him on a solid and secure ground. And for us, maybe we're in the midst of a pit, or maybe we've seen God remove us from this pit. But the fact of the matter is that in Christ, we have all been pulled from the pit. That in Christ, God has removed us from the deepest and darkest despair that we could ever have and placed us on a firm and solid ground. And so we have the ability each day to look and remember and reflect on the work that Jesus has done to remove us from this pit. And this knowledge, understanding the work of Jesus and being removed from the pit, does something to David. It says it put a new song in his mouth, a song of praise to our God. That all he could do was sing praises to God at the work that had taken place. And the same should be true for us. And so we need to ask ourselves today, is my life a song of praise to God for what he has done for me? Is my life an expression of the freedom from the pit that he has given me? And it said that when our life becomes that song of praise, that people are going to see it. And God is going to be praised and glorified. And a proper fear and reverence of God is going to be had because they see how we behave. They see how we act. They see how we model this life of praise. And that's exciting. That's a huge responsibility. But it's also meaning and purpose every day. That every day our life is a song of praise to God, and that other people will see that song. And God will use that to glorify himself and to bring others to a proper recognition of who he is. He says that the man who trusts the Lord alone is blessed, and that this man doesn't turn to the proud or turn to believe those that teach lies or go astray. And so we have to have a firm recognition of God and understanding of him. And then we will be able to focus on all that he has done. He says that he wants to tell the world all the things that God has done, but they're just too many to tell. And so each day as we focus our life as a life of praise and we think about the wonders of God and want to express those and share those through our words and through our actions, we come to a realization that there's not enough hours in the day. There's not enough words to say to be able to express how great God is. Where are you on that story? Are you in the midst of a pit? Are you out of the pit and have failed to recognize what God has done for you? We need to look and assess our lives and see where we are. Am I displaying the work of God as a song of praise from my life? Am I proclaiming all the wondrous acts that he has? Am I trusting in him and him alone? In the midst of a pit, am I seeking him for my strength and my escape, or am I looking to all the things the world has to offer? You see, David, in this psalm, follows up this time of praise and gratitude and thanksgiving and obedience and trust with another cry to God. In the second half, he finds himself in another pit, a new turmoil. And the progression, I don't want us to miss that, is completely backwards. Normally, we cry out to God. We tell of our despair. We tell him we trust him alone. And we make our petitions, and then God comes through and we offer praise and thanksgiving. This psalm is specifically backwards. It starts with praise and thanksgiving for God's rescue. It follows with an illustration of his trust in God alone. And then it turns to a time of lament, a new trial, and a petition for God to hear him again. And I don't want us to miss that progression, because the reverse order that it gives us is very specific for our lives, that even when we've illustrated trust in God and we've seen him come through and we offer praise and thanksgiving and we're obedient, new trials, new pits will arise. Maybe today another pit has popped up, or tomorrow another pit will pop up. We always must go to God, the one who can rescue, the one who can save. And so look at your life this week. Where are you in the story? Are you in the pit? Are you out of the pit? If you're out of the pit, odds are another pit is on the way. Are you ready to go before God and to trust him, whatever pitfalls may come? Are you offering your life as a worship and praise to God in your words and your actions so that others would see and glorify God? Are we illustrating our trust in Him by proclaiming to the world all that He's done and trying our best to use the time to declare the wondrous works of God, even though they're too many to number? Spend some time in this psalm this week, praying and evaluating. Spend some time assessing where you are. And if you're in that pit, cry out to God. Wait patiently for Him, and He will hear your cry. Have a great week.
Thanks again for listening today. We'd love to hear from you. If you'd like more information about our church, or if you just want to share what God's been doing in your life, drop us a line. Give us a call. Again, may God bless you.